Okay, we are working on Chapter 8 exercises right now, and we just had a little bit of a talk about some of the technologies that we're working here. The real key technology we're working with here, of course, is this product called Node.js, which basically allows us to run server-side JavaScript. And if you watched the lecture videos and read the book, you should have picked up on that. So it is really important that in your Visual Studio, when you install that you make sure that Node.js was included as a component. And if it wasn't, you're going to find out real quickly. One way you can find out on any computer system, folks, is just to go to your Start menu and just bring up your control panel and look at the programs that are loaded up on your machine. And if you do have Node.js installed, it will have an entry that looks like this. So Node.js. You can tell it's been a while since I've updated mine, so I might end up updating it here. We'll see as we proceed in the exercise. One thing I will tell you is the book is a little dated, so some of the commands that will come forth as you work with Node.js, some of the screens will look slightly different, but don't freak out. We'll handle it. Don't panic. All of it is fixable. And the other components that we were talking about here in class, and I can see them here in the sidebar, is both this concept of a RESTful application, or the whole REST API, and working with a technology called Ajax, which also allows for server-side interactions without redrawing a page. The whole point of these technologies is to help your web applications behave more like a real application and not a static website. So we're really kind of crossing a hurdle here in many ways. Now, the Node website, and you can follow the link, and we were just looking at this currently. You can actually come here, you can download the product and install it right from here. Now, whenever you're downloading products like this, I always caution people, proceed to the latest version very carefully. Don't just, oh, it's the newest one, I'll just go with that one. No, I don't necessarily recommend that. Because very often when you go from version to version, things don't often work. Whenever you see anything that's written and it says LTS after it, what does LTS stand for? Less than stable? Actually, that's this one, right? LTS actually stands for long-term support, meaning it's a stable version of the product that they're supporting. And a lot of things that are in the open source community, and this is one of those open source type of software packages, are released like that. So they'll have newer versions that they're working on, but they're known to not be stable. They know there's problems. Doesn't mean it won't work for you, but if you want one that you know is going to work, you always go with the LTS version. And usually you see this with like Linux and Unix software, that little acronym, but that's what it stands for. Long-term support, so you go with that one. Now, when you install Visual Studio, if you hit that little checkbox for Node.js, you should have it. If it's not in your program listing, though, on your computer, you're going to want to download and install it. Can it be installed separately from Visual Studio? Absolutely. You don't have to use the Visual Studio interface to install it. They just kind of do it as a courtesy because it's that common of a development tool. Now, if you want to use the Visual Studio interface to do it, I think that if you go to your Start menu and you just start typing Visual Studio Installer, you can click on that and that will bring up the interface, and then you can add it from there. That's up to you how you want to do it. But if you don't have it, you need to get it onto your system somehow to do the work. If you don't want to install it on your own system, feel free to use the Web VDI because it is installed there. All right, let's go back over to the book now. And once you have this product installed, we are going to actually drop down to a command prompt. Is there anyone in here that's never worked at a command prompt? Or knows what it is? Okay, good. I worry sometimes. This is what, the second or third semester class. You guys should have a little bit of experience with that. So let's go ahead and open up a command prompt in Windows. You just hit your Windows key, just type CMD, or you can spell out command prompt. And then you should be able to bring up a window that looks like this. So I'm going to just take a quick pause here. Now, one of my clever students here asked me, and as I look at this, instruction, it says open the command prompt window, and he's like, "Do you want us to use the Node command prompt window?" Great question, because most people don't know that there is one. But if you do go to your start menu and you start typing Node, you'll notice that there is a command prompt just for Node. Does that mean I can't do the same work from a regular prompt? It should work on both, folks. All right. So I'm going to follow the book verbatim because chances are you are. So if we stumble and fall, it might be by design, but it's to make a point, right? Right. So I'm opening up the regular command prompt window, which I do already have open. And then you're going to see that they want us to do a little bit of file management. Okay, now we got to talk about that, file management. For those of you not familiar with a command prompt or navigating a file or an operating system with it, there's a series of commands that you need to move from folder to folder. You guys may have learned these or maybe not. My intent here isn't to teach you how to do all command prompt stuff, but at least to get some rudiments. I can argue that command prompts are still very important for professionals. There's lots of good tutorials and websites out there that tell you all the basic commands. For the most part, in my professional career, I never went through and I memorized all the DOS commands or anything like that. I certainly learned a lot of them, but most professionals typically, even when they're working on Linux systems or in PowerShell or something like that, usually have a reference and they're looking something up. And frankly, there's a lot of trial and error that goes with it too. But always have a resource handy. Now, what they really want us to do here is actually create a directory to put this work into, and you can see that they want you to work off the root of the C drive and then go to your practice exercises. So they're assuming that you followed the instructions in this book, and like most programming books, they create a folder in the root of the C drive, and the reason they do that is that way they can tell everybody the same instructions, right? And maybe you did that, but that's up to you where you put your files. So I'm not going to tell you where to put your files, but if you want to follow what the book did, what they would probably have is like you're in the C drive, so you go to the root of the C drive, like this, and then they want you to make a directory called practice exercises and then throw all your stuff in there. I think that's silly, because I would never put my stuff at the root of the C drive. I'm sorry, I just don't. Right? Now the funny thing is with my new Google Drive, it created a G drive on my machine, right? And then I know, and you notice how I switched drives? I just typed the drive letter, colon, press enter. So now I'm at the G prompt instead of the C prompt. And now I'm just going to type dir. And oh, that's great. Okay, I want to go to my drive, so I'm going to go cd, my drive. I'm going to type a directory command, dir. It just shows me what's in there. And I know where I want to go. In fact, holy cow, look at all that stuff. All right, what a mess. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple little shortcuts that maybe you guys know or don't know. I want to change into my Web Programming 2 directory. What's our course number? I just happen to have it memorized. So it's actually 152-150, but the way I name my folder, and you can actually see the folder up here. You guys see it? This is my folder name. I just typed the first part of that folder name, which I know is unique. Now I'm going to hit the tab key, and it types the rest for me. Right, a little geek magic there. So now I'm in the folder. Now I'm going to do a directory command again, and I want to look at my folders inside there, and I know, oh yeah, wow, okay, that's really messy. Here's another little trick you can use, you guys. when you're working at these command prompt windows, and sometimes you want to go to a certain spot in the command prompt, you can actually navigate to that folder in a regular folder window like this, and then come up to the address bar and click up here. And do you notice how it changes to a regular path? Right? And you can copy that, and then you can go to your command prompt, and you can just type CD, paste it in. If you're using, you can do Control V with Windows 10. If you're using an older version of Windows, you have to actually right-click and paste. And then once you have that in there, you can press Enter, and it takes you right to that folder. Now, truth is, I actually have to go even deeper, right? Because I have to go to Web Calculator. Okay, I better just do it here. But this is I think this is a handy trick. So we're going to be working in this folder, but you know what? I better do some file management first, because this is Chapter 7 complete, right? So I'm going to copy it, paste it. Rename it. Chapter 7 complete. So I have a backup. But the place I really want to be, is this where I want to be? You guys need to answer this for me. Now I better read the book, actually. What does this command do? Make directory. So they want me to go to my practice exercise folder and then make a directory called Contoso Web. So I'm going to go back to the prompt, and I'm going to say, I want to put all my work here because this is where my 2018 spring semester work is for this class. So I want to be in this folder. Am I in this folder here? Yes. Okay. So now at this point, I'm going to type MD, what is it called? Contoso Web. So capital C, capital W. Contoso Web, and press Enter. Then you should be able to do a directory command and see it listed. See it? And then type CD space. I just typed the first couple letters, hit Tab, and it typed the rest for me. And the CD command is change directory. MD is make directory in Windows or DOS. All right, so now that we have that part complete, hopefully you have your prompt looking kind of like that. And your first part of this, everything excluding Contoso Web, that's going to be unique to your system. Wherever you decide to store your work, that's on you. But put it somewhere where you can find it later. All right. Now, interestingly, it says in the resources folder, find the web calculator solution, copy the solution, and paste it into the Contoso Web folder. What do you find funny about that, Brian?
Just how it'll be back.
Yeah. But what did I delete?
The solution. That's what they're asking for.
They're asking for the whole thing, right? But I deleted my solution?
It sounds like they're just asking for the solution, right?
Well, what does it say? Find the web calculator solution, copy the solution, and paste it into the Contoso Web folder. Okay, so this is all, I'm picking in the book, I am, because I don't think it's written very clearly here. So don't feel bad if you're feeling the same way. And it's okay to question things, you shouldn't just take everything you read and take it as gospel truth, folks. Some critical thinking really needs to come into play, because we're dealing with technology here. Technology changes all the time, and sometimes the stuff is written hastily, All right, so when I say find the web calculator solution, to me, I'm going to go grab that whole folder that has my web calculator in it. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to actually go to my regular folder here to do this. Now, the way that I would read that is I would take this entire folder, right? Just nod and smile. That's the way I read it. If I go in a level, it doesn't say web calculator solution, does it? All right. So the worst thing that's going to happen here is it doesn't work, right? But the beautiful thing about the discipline that we're learning, folks, is we're learning how to work with software and programs. We're not breaking anything. We're not hurting anybody, hopefully, in the process. I had to do that as a subtext, right? Whereas, like, if we were learning how to do welding and we screw up, we could start a fire or burn ourselves, or, you know what I mean? So we don't have that worry at the very least. The worst thing that's going to happen is you do it again and make it work. So, all right, so here we are. I'm going to go here, and I'm actually going to do that action external to the command prompt. And I think that's kind of what they want you to do here as well. Now, if you were an expert at working from a prompt, you could type out these commands, copy, blah, 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 and you would do it. To me, it seems silly if you have a graphical operating system sitting here to waste the time doing it. That's just me. So an intelligent mix of the two is sometimes necessary. So here we go. I'm going to actually take the solution. Now, I got to be careful, because why? I still have it open, right? Not really a good idea to go copying and moving stuff while it's sitting open. So let's go ahead and close the solution. And then let's go now copy that folder and paste it inside here. Do I really think it's necessary to grab the solution folder? Also, the truth is actually no, folks. I really don't think it's necessary. But we're following what the book says. Monkey see, monkey do. All right, so copy the solution and paste it into the Contoso web folder. We did it, right? Now we're going to go to the prompt. And notice it says inside the Contoso web folder. That's where we are. We're going to type npm init. Now, if you remember from the little talk we had earlier, npm is Node.js's package manager. Many pieces of software that work from a command line have a package manager, and that means just a way to install plugins and add-ons. Visual Studio has it. When you guys worked in Ruby on Rails, those of you that did, that had it. All sorts of technologies use it. All right, so go ahead and type that command. And then it brings up this interface. And really what we're doing here is we're creating the foundation of a project. And I'm going to try to split screen here as much as I can. And I'm trying to keep all the information up on the screen. And what it's going to do is, one at a time, it's going to prompt you for entries. So first it wants you to name your project, give it a version number, a description, and a couple of other details. And you guys are going to discover as we go a few steps in, it doesn't look quite the same, right? And that's where the panic flags come in and I get all the emails, right? So hopefully to stem that off a little bit. So if I don't give this a name, what's going to happen? It takes the name of the folder it's in. That's why Contoso Web is in there. So guess what all I have to do? Press enter. Here, okay, that's the first panic flag right there. All right. So, okay, no capital letters, fine. Why on earth? We'll just call it is that okay that it's lowercase? Yeah, it sure is. All right. Version 1.0? Fine. Description? Whatever you want to say is fine, just as long as it's polite. Okay. Now notice, in the book, they call this next one main. What are we going to call it? Entry point? Index.js. Well, great. Now we got a different kind of index. Yep. Yes, we do. So we're going to go with that. So just press enter. Test command, how about nothing? Is that all right? My Git repository, well, guess what? This is really kind of cool. If you guys have a Git account and you're storing this project on Git, you can actually have it directly tied to that repository. So in other words, if I was building Contoso website and I had the files for it on my GitHub account, this would just write the files to that account and pull them back and keep versions of it in the process. So those of you that are playing with Git, I would encourage you to play with it here. So I'm not using one, I'm just leaving it blank. Keywords, well, in the book they say Contoso, comma, web calculator, or whatever you want to put in there, comma separated values. Press enter. Who's the author? Your name. All right. Yeah. All right. So another one that always gets people is there's a license, and the license in the older versions of Node.js was BSD. Do you guys know what that stands for? Blue screen of death, right? That's BSOD. BSD actually refers to the University of Berkeley in California. When they developed the free Unix operating systems, you guys have probably heard about those a little bit. The Berkeley flavor of Unix, the free Unix that they developed, they called BSD. And so that had an open source license that was unique to that product, and that's the license that they used to use to license this. Can we just go with ISC? Absolutely, it's some new format. I'm not even sure what it is. Okay. So once you are all done with those entries, it's going to generate, and take a look at the format of this file, right? We've learned about JSON, right? You guys noticing the format of the information? Just writes JSON format. Curly brackets, key value pairs, there's a colon in between, and comma separated. So this is the key, that's the value. Key, value, etc. Comma separated, notice the commas, right? Error, no test specified. Well, I didn't specify one, that's right. Should I worry? No. What could I put in there? I mean, it's setting up a test, right? We learned about this, didn't we? Right? You could actually preset, like if you had a unit test pre-built, you could designate it here. That's what it's about. All right? And now it's asking me, is this okay? Yes. It's in parentheses. All I have to do is press enter. And then if I'm lucky, and this is where like the fingers cross, right? I'm going to go back to my file folder now. And you should see in the root of your Contoso web folder this file called package.json. And if you right-click and open it with any text editor, you should see the same stuff that you're seeing in the command prompt window appear here. And all this is using JavaScript object notation, key value pairs inside of curly brackets. This is serialized data that's going to be fed into our application. It also is kind of Node.js's version of a solution file. That's a good way to look at it. Because the package file, and this is true for many different types of programming languages, folks, is when you have a package file for an application, the package file gives you some basic information about the application, including some of the things we see. And most importantly, it says main index.js, right? So what does that mean? When we launch the application, it looks for that file. It doesn't have to be the index file. It's kind of the equivalent of us right-clicking and set a start page. That's basically what's happening here. We just did it manually from the prompt. Now, unfortunately, we cannot progress any further tonight because we are out of time, but I'm happy that we got that far. Now, if any of you are having a problem creating it, and it's not unusual to have a problem with this because all it takes is one little misstep and it fails and you have to try it again. All right, so I'm going to end the video here, and I'll come around and help anybody that needs it. And next week we're going to reconvene, and we're going to press through it and hopefully finish all of these. And it really kind of creates a really neat little application at the end, I think. Primitive, but neat. All right, folks, we'll see you next time.